Namo Buddhaya, and may ALSA always be one.
All right, thank you so much, Kak Aditi, for the outstanding opening remarks, and thank you for attending ACC Freshman as well, Kak Aditi. Now we'll hear the opening remarks from a representative, the Faculty of Law, UGM, to Pak Wahyu Yun Santoso. We give the floor to you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam sejahtera, Rahayu. Selamat pagi teman-teman semua. Semangat pagi ya. Saya Ketua Program Studi Sarjana Fakultas Hukum UGM menyatakan selamat datang dalam kompetisi yang diusung oleh ALSA ini. ACC version 4 seperti itu, dan saya pikir sebagai sambutan selain apresiasi untuk teman-teman ALSA yang continue untuk melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan yang berkontribusi positif untuk sesama mahasiswa maupun sivitas akademiknya secara umum, tapi juga memberikan peluang-peluang pembelajaran yang lebih lanjut sama seperti pada kesempatan hari ini dengan tema yang kalau tidak salah ya from crisis to care seperti itu. Saya pikir harapan saya sebagai Kaprodi dengan acara ini teman-teman semangat berkompetisinya itu dapat mendapatkan satu kesimpulan dan kesepahaman bersama bahwa memang kesetaraan akses terhadap kesehatan itu menjadi suatu hal yang mutlak diperlukan untuk menjamin adanya perlindungan dan sekaligus jaminan yang lebih baik ya bagi seluruh warga negara seperti itu. Sehingga yang jelas sebagai sambutan ini saya mewakili dekanat selain antusias atas kegiatan ini sekaligus memberikan semangat untuk teman-teman semua. Selamat berkompetisi, semoga mendapatkan hasil yang terbaik dan semoga nanti pelaksanaan kompetisi ini akan mendatangkan kemanfaatan sekaligus berkah untuk teman-teman semua dalam pembelajaran hukum ya dan untuk kedepannya. Terima kasih, selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the opening remarks, Pak Yuyun. Now, before getting into one of our most exciting parts of today, I want to know my partner thoughts about ACC version 4. So what do you think, Ethan?
Well, words definitely can describe how excited I am to be here today. And Abe, I think all of our participants and everyone who is here today is excited as well, because I heard that there's going to be an amazing webinar that also has a handful of insightful and amazing speakers that will definitely help us broaden our knowledge here.
Wow, that is impressive, Ethan.
I know.
But I think let's just not spoil too much.
That's
and
right.
let's just all of our participants fill the trail by themselves. Anyway, a step closer to our webinar sessions, let's first introduce the moderator who will lead the webinar sessions for today with title, From Crisis to Care, Addressing Barriers to Achieve Health Equity in Healthcare.
That's right, Abe. So let's call our moderator right away. Nadja, are you with us?
Hi. Yes. Hi, Ethan. Hi, Ave. I'm here with you guys. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, and greetings to all of us. Hi, everyone. My name is Nadja. I'm a student in the Law Faculty of Universitas Gadjah Mada, and I'll be the moderator of this event who will lead today's webinar with our amazing speakers. I hope everyone here is just as excited as I am.
Wow, thank you so much, Nadja, for the amazing introduction. Now, before we pass the floor to Nadja to lead today's webinar, let's take a look at our CV that is going to be presented on this screen.
As we can see in the screen, our moderator is a very bright student. She has done her student internship in the Komunitas Narasi TV as well as Asagaf Hamzah Partners.
That's right, Abe. And I think we can also see here that Nadja is an external board member at the Community of International Moot Court Competition at UGM.
Wow, what an achiever our moderator is, don't you think, Ethan?
I agree.
Yes. Without any further ado, let's just get straight to the webinar sessions and to Nadja.
Thank you again, Ethan and Ave. I'm going to reintroduce myself briefly. Hi, everyone. I'm Nadia, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. Today, we have two amazing speakers who are health practitioners as well as law experts. They're both very, very inspiring people. To give you guys a bit of a heads up, today we'll be doing the talk show in two segments. First, we have Dr. Hari, who will be conducting the talk show and Q&A sessions in Indonesian. And then we will move on to our second speaker, Dr. Andre, in English. Before I start, let me lay down some ground rules. Any questions can be asked through the chat box when the question and answer session has come. So please do keep your questions until the end of our session, and don't forget to list your name and institution. Nah, kita mulai langsung aja ya sama pembicara pertama kita. Pembicara pertama kita adalah Dr. Hari Penugroho, Sarjana Hukum, Magister Hukum Kesehatan, CLA. Dr. Hari, apakah Dr. Hari di sini bersama kita?
Ya.
Halo Dr. Hari, terima kasih banyak sudah hadir hari ini.
Terima kasih diundang.
Mungkin bisa aku jelasin singkat tentang latar belakang Dr. Hari. Dr. Hari adalah seorang dokter gigi dengan latar belakang hukum kesehatan. Beliau tidak hanya praktek sebagai dokter gigi, ia juga bekerja sebagai konsultan hukum, anggota dan ketua di beberapa organisasi, dan banyak aktivitas lain yang mendorong untuk akses kesehatan yang adil melalui penerapan hukum. Benar nggak Dr. Hari?
Ya, kurang lebih seperti itu.
Keren sekali. Ya udah. Tanpa ditunda, saya langsung bertanya aja Hari tentang peran hukum dalam isu keterjangkauan kesehatan yang mungkin bisa lebih spesifik kepada Indonesia. Gak apa-apa kan dokter?
Siap.
Baik. Pertama-tama aku mau nanya, apa sih pendapat Dokter Hari tentang peran sarana hukum dalam menghilangkan hambatan terhadap kesetaraan pelayanan kesehatan?
Jadi begini, negara kita ini kan negara hukum ya, dibangun atas dasar konstitusi. Nah, konstitusi sendiri sudah mengatur bagaimana pelayanan kesehatan itu harus accessible bagi masyarakat. Jadi peran hukum sangat penting karena karena hukumlah yang mengatur kesehatan itu bisa terjangkau oleh masyarakat. Hanya masalahnya begini, kalau kita berbicara tentang kesehatan, maka saya berpendapat ada dua hal pokok yang harus kita sadari. Yang pertama adalah pelayanan kesehatan ibarat seperti pie yang harus dibagi. Gitu ya. Yang kedua, bagaimana pembagian itu dengan adil melalui konstruksi paradigma fundamental human right dengan human right. Gitu. Itu yang kedua. Nah, yang pertama dulu. Kesehatan suatu kue pie yang harus dibagi secara adil. Begini, konstitusi kita menyatakan bahwa negara Indonesia itu kan negara yang adil dan makmur, ya, adil dan makmur. Artinya keadilan itu didasarkan atas kemakmuran. Antara adil dengan ekonomi itu hal yang sangat fundamental. Keadilan itu didasarkan atas pemerataan ekonomi. Demikian juga dengan kesehatan. Sehingga begini, kita harus melihat adanya ketidaksamaan di bidang kesehatan itu merupakan suatu ketidakadilan. Ya. Ketidaksamaan di bidang kesehatan itu merupakan ketidakadilan. Nah, indikatornya apa? Indikatornya adalah ketidaksamaan kondisi kesehatan. Misalnya, ketidaksamaan umur harapan hidup atau life expectancy. Itu sesuatu yang Nah, lalu kita mesti melihat begini ya. Kalau status kesehatan karena faktor genetik, misalnya diabetes, atau apa namanya penyakit-penyakit karena genetik, itu adalah sesuatu yang adil. Artinya itu bukan masalah ketidakadilan. Tetapi kalau masalah stunting, masalah busung lapar, masalah TBC, itu merupakan ketidakadilan. Sehingga kita harus membedakan di sini. Mana yang bisa disebut adil, mana yang tidak bisa disebut dengan yang pertama. Yang kedua, tentang penalaran fundamental human right dengan human right. Kalau kita mengenal di dalam Declaration of Human Right, itu kan di dalam preambul, itu kan dinyatakan tentang fundamental human right. Tetapi di batang tubuhnya itu apa namanya membicarakan tentang human right. Fundamental human right dengan human right itu dua hal yang berbeda. Nah, konstitusi kita menyatakan apa? Konstitusi kita bab 10A Undang-Undang Dasar Negara Republik Indonesia tahun 45 setelah amandemen keempat dimulai dengan pasal 28 huruf A. Di situ disebutkan hak hidup dan mempertahankan kehidupan. Lalu pasal 28 bab 10A di Undang-Undang Dasar kita itu mengamanatkan kurang lebih 10 hak lainnya. Sekarang pertanyaannya begini, apakah semuanya itu adalah fundamental human right? Ternyata tidak. Kenapa? Karena yang merupakan fundamental human right itu hanya pasal 28 huruf A. Apa itu? Hak hidup dan mempertahankan kehidupan. Sedangkan hak dalam pemerintahan, hak pekerjaan, hak bela negara sampai kepada pasal 28 huruf C ayat 1, hak memperoleh pelayanan kesehatan, itu bukan fundamental human right dengan satu persyaratan tertentu. Misalnya begini, kalau kita melihat hak hidup yang menjadi dasar, maka hak-hak lain bukan sesuatu yang sifatnya dasar. Misalnya, saya tidak boleh ikut di dalam pemilu tahun 2024. Hak saya dicabut. Hak saya berserikat dan berkumpul dicabut. Tetapi hak saya berserikat dan berkumpul dicabut, saya masih memiliki hak yang lainnya. Coba misalnya ya, ini kita pakai logika. Saya diberikan semua hak, hak pendidikan, hak berserikat dan berkumpul, hak berkeluarga, hak menganut kepercayaan tertentu, hak memperoleh pelayanan kesehatan, tetapi hak hidup saya dicabut oleh negara. Artinya apa? Semua hak tadi hilang seketika. Ini yang membedakan fundamental human right dengan human right. Lalu kalau kita melihat pelayanan kesehatan bagaimana? Pelayanan kesehatan itu begini. Tidak semua pelayanan kesehatan itu merupakan fundamental human right. Hanya pelayanan kesehatan yang khusus dalam mempertahankan kehidupan, yaitu apa? Pelayanan gawat darurat itu adalah fundamental human right. Ketika itu fundamental human right, maka negara harus hadir. Tidak boleh lagi ada pelayanan di UGD, itu harus ada DP, harus ada uang muka, harus ada jaminan, tidak boleh. Kenapa? Karena pelayanan gawat darurat itu adalah demi untuk mempertahankan kehidupan, dan itu fundamental human right. Tetapi pelayanan di poli, misalnya pelayanan kulit, pelayanan yang gigi, dan yang lain yang bukan fundamental human right, itu sebatas human right. Negara belum tentu harus hadir. Sehingga kembali kepada yang pertama tadi, kue pie yang terbatas ini hanya cukup untuk yang fundamental human right. Yang human right, masyarakat diminta kontribusinya. Mungkin begitu ya.
Baik dok, jadi kalau aku boleh ulang sedikit, jadi kan tadi ada hak-hak yang fundamental human rights yang harus diberikan dan di-provide oleh negara dan pemerintah kan berarti. Tadi dokter sempat angkat beberapa isu juga yang tentang stunting, kelaparan, dan aksesibilitas si PAI untuk fundamental right itu agar semua orang bisa mendapatkan aksesnya. Nah sekarang aku mau nanya, mungkin ada bagaimana peraturan legislatif dapat memastikan bahwa masyarakat yang dikecualikan seperti orang yang hidup dalam kemiskinan dapat memiliki akses yang sama terhadap pelayanan kesehatan untuk fundamental rights yang tadi dokter sempat mention.
Ya, sebenarnya kalau kita melihat fundamental human right yaitu mempertahankan kehidupan, tidak ada lagi cerita masyarakat miskin dan masyarakat kaya. Kenapa? Karena fundamental human right itu untuk semua lapisan masyarakat harus accessible. Nah, memang kalau di dalam filsafat etika ada vulnerable person, masyarakat yang rentan, maka negara memang harus mengkhususkan untuk masyarakat yang rentan. Dan itu harus prioritas negara. Sehingga kalau kita melihat Undang-Undang 2011 tentang SJSN dan Undang-Undang 2014 tentang BPJS, maka di situ dipersyaratkan negara itu mempunyai alokasi dana untuk penerima bantuan iuran. Itu apa maknanya? Untuk vulnerable person tadi, bagaimana negara harus hadir dengan keuangan yang cukup untuk membantu mereka accessible kepada fundamental human right tadi.
Baik
Mungkin
dok.
begitu ya.
Iya, mungkin boleh diceritain dikit tentang BPJS dan juga UU Kesehatan tadi tuh, apakah sudah bisa diaplikasikan di seluruh Indonesia mungkin, dan apakah aplikasikannya rata, dan apakah semua orang yang mungkin tadi seperti orang-orang yang memiliki kesulitan untuk mengakses kesehatan dapat mengakses kesehatan yang layak dan juga diperlukan untuk mereka.
Ya, jadi begini, kalau melihat konstruksinya Undang-Undang 2011 dan Undang-Undang 2014, sebenarnya ini sudah sangat-sangat baik. Kenapa? Sejak 2014, dengan diberlakukannya Undang-Undang BPJS, hampir semua rumah sakit itu bisa melayani masyarakat tanpa ada kesulitan tentang pembiayaan. Ya. Jadi ini sesuatu yang sangat positif. Tetapi memang masalahnya pada taraf implementasi. Ini kan BPJS ini kan mengatur tentang keuangan negara yang dipakai untuk melayani masyarakat. Tetapi di lain sisi ada provider, ada stakeholder, ada rumah sakit, di mana ini adalah sisi pelayanan. Nah, sementara ini antara keuangan undang-undangnya tersendiri, antara pelayanan undang-undangnya tersendiri. Keuangan langsung di bawah presiden, BPJS langsung di bawah presiden, sedangkan pelayanan di bawah Kementerian Kesehatan. Kemarin dengan adanya Undang-Undang 17 2023, sebenarnya ini hendak disatukan supaya antara pembiayaan dengan pelayanan ini menjadi satu atap, sehingga koordinasinya baik. Tetapi ternyata Undang-Undang BPJS dan Undang-Undang SJSN dikeluarkan dari Undang-Undang 17 2023 tentang Omnibus Law. Ya sudah, ini kan politik hukum ya. Tetapi sebenarnya dua ini baik, tetapi sebenarnya kalau itu dijadikan satu gedung, itu jauh lebih baik. Mungkin begitu.
Baik dok. Baik, jadi lebih baik untuk dimasukkan kepada satu payung hukum agar bisa disetarakan untuk semua, dan alokasi dananya juga diberikan kepada pihak-pihak yang butuhnya juga kan, berarti dok. Oke. Mungkin karena keterbatasan waktu, saya harus ke pertanyaan terakhir. Apakah dokter bisa menjelaskan panduan atau tindakan hukum yang dapat diambil untuk mengatasi kesetaraan kesehatan bagi para profesional kesehatan, pembuat undang-undang, dan masyarakat pada umumnya?
Panduan. Jadi begini, kalau kita melihat ya, konteksnya tadi yang saya jelaskan itu kan yang harus tersedia itu adalah pelayanan kesehatan yang bersifat fundamental human right, yang bersifat kegawat daruratan, ya kan? Nah, maka hal minimal yang itu harus disediakan dulu. Sehingga apa? Akses masyarakat kepada unit gawat darurat di rumah sakit itu harus make sure bahwa mereka punya akses yang cukup luas tanpa ada biaya, gitu ya. Nah, kalau mereka tidak memiliki akses itu, maka undang-undang sudah mengatur bahwa rumah sakit dan garing atau tenaga medis, tenaga kesehatan itu bisa diadukan dan itu merupakan pelanggaran pidana. Pidana badan 10 tahun dan pidana dendanya itu sampai 1,5 M. Jadi saya rasa undang-undang sudah sangat jelas mengatur seperti itu. Yang sifatnya fundamental human right itu tidak boleh ditawar-tawar. Yang sifatnya fundamental human right. Tetapi yang sifatnya human right itu masih bisa dinegosiasikan. Bagaimana caranya? Mungkin begitu ya.
Baik dok, jadi mungkin kita bisa berbincang tentang yang bukan fundamental human rights tadi, yang yang satu lagi mungkin harus seperti stunting dan hal-hal lain yang mirip-mirip itu. Kayaknya masih banyak undang-undang ataupun regulasi yang masih sedikit cukup abu-abu di Indonesia ya, yang belum terlalu jelas mengatasi tentang stunting dan lain sebagainya. Mungkin dokter bisa cerita dikit tentang bagaimana negara bisa membantu agar bisa mengatasi hal-hal seperti stunting ataupun kelaparan di daerah-daerah yang lebih terpencil di Indonesia.
Ya, jadi ini isu yang menarik di Undang-Undang 17 2023 kemarin. Kenapa? Karena Undang-Undang Kesehatan yang baru ini tidak mengatur tentang mandatory spending. Jadi berapa persen dari APBN itu yang harus dialokasikan bagi kesehatan. Tetapi sebenarnya itu bukan masalah. Kenapa? Karena keuangan negara itu bisa dipakai berdasarkan alokasi kebutuhan. Jadi tidak ada pembatasannya nanti. Hanya tinggal DPR bagaimana. Nah, begini. Kita harus mengerti bahwa negara kita ini punya undang-undang otonomi daerah. Dinas kesehatan itu bukan kantor wilayah kesehatan. Dinas kesehatan itu ada di dalam rezim undang-undang otonomi daerah. Sehingga program kesehatan di daerah itu sangat bergantung dengan APBD. Bukan lagi APBN. Nah, dalam hal ini tidak bisa diserta-mertakan harus dari pemerintah pusat. Tapi bagaimana niat baik pemerintah daerah untuk mengatasi stunting di daerahnya dia. Nah, ini memang harus dikawal. Ini memang harus dikawal. Tidak harus pemerintah apa. Karena memang punya undang-undang otonomi daerah. Mungkin khusus daerah-daerah yang miskin, ya pemerintah pusat hadir. Tetapi daerah-daerah yang kaya, kalau dia ada stunting, berarti ada sesuatu yang masalah di dalam perilaku politik kesehatan di daerah itu.
Jadi dok, tapi kalau gitu di APBD yaitu daerah, apakah aplikasi dengan alokasi dana dan lain sebagainya sudah dilakukan secara efektif menurut dokter?
Harusnya iya, Kenapa? Karena penguasa daerah kan mengerti masyarakatnya seperti apa. Pemerintah pusat sudah melakukan trigger. Jadi pemerintah daerah yang bisa mengatasi stunting di daerahnya, mereka dari pemerintah pusat. Nah, mungkin pemerintah pusat hanya bisa men-trigger seperti itu. Kenapa? Karena ini benar-benar bergantung kepada otonomi daerah itu. Kecuali kalau dinas kesehatan bukan lagi menjadi dinas kesehatan di bawah pemerintah daerah, tetapi menjadi kanwil kesehatan, seperti kanwil agama. Jadi langsung Kementerian Kesehatan. Itu berbeda. Ini kita masih memakai pola otonomi daerah untuk masalah kesehatan.
Baik dok, itu menarik sekali. Sebenarnya aku tertarik banget tentang isu stunting karena kayaknya banyak banget politisi di hari ini yang mention stunting di sana sini kayak saya akan atasi stunting, tapi sebenarnya belum tahu aplikasinya seperti kayak gimana di dunia medis dan spesifik di dunia hukum mungkin. Kayaknya karena keterbatasan waktu, aku akan buka sekarang chat box-nya untuk pertanyaan dari yang berhadir di webinar ini. Jadi partisipannya juga bisa bertanya-tanya. Pasti mereka juga penasaran, aku harus nunggu sebentar, mungkin nanti aku bertanya di waktu lain ya. Sekarang untuk teman-teman yang mau bertanya tentang akses kesehatan dari si kacamata hukum, boleh banget ya di chat box kalian tanya pertanyaan kalian apa. Jangan lupa mention nama dan juga institusinya ya teman-teman. Oke, kayak itu kita ada pertanyaan pertama nih dok. Ada Raka Abisatya dari UGM. Raka bertanya, kita kan mengalami pandemi COVID selama 2 tahun. Bagaimana dampaknya terhadap akses ke layanan kesehatan? Gimana tuh dok?
Satu hal pasti memberikan pelajaran bagi kita. Jadi blessing in disguise itu pasti ada. Pelayanan kesehatan setelah pandemi itu sedang mengukur lagi bagaimana cara melayani masyarakat dengan efektif. Salah satunya adalah dengan adanya pandemi, kita terbuka luas dengan teknologi. Ada yang namanya telemedicine. Kalau dulu sebelum pandemi atau waktu pandemi, itu telemedicine itu tidak ada dasar hukumnya. Dasar hukumnya itu hanya pada peraturan Menteri Kesehatan tentang telemedicine, di mana itu hanya bisa dilakukan antar fasilitas pelayanan kesehatan. Misalnya, seorang dokter bedah subspesialis bedah bedah digestif di Jakarta, dia memandu seorang spesialis bedah di Papua untuk melakukan tindakan pembedahan digestif. Itu masuk di dalam telemedicine yang diatur peraturan Menteri Kesehatan. Tetapi begitu pandemi, itu ada telemedicine antar dokter kepada pasien demi supaya pasien itu tidak langsung bersentuhan dengan dokter. Nah, lalu Undang-Undang 17/2023 itu mengatur payung hukum tentang telemedicine yang dulu tidak ada. Gitu ya. Dulu hanya kegawat daruratan waktu itu hanya karena pandemi saja. Tetapi setelah pandemi kan semua undang-undang, semua peraturan Menteri Kesehatan atau SK atau apapun tentang pandemi itu kan sudah dicabut dengan Perpres pencabutan pandemi. Gitu ya. Jadi membuat sistem kesehatan kita menjadi lebih baik. Kenapa ini lebih baik? Karena aksesibel masyarakat kepada dokter ini menjadi lebih mudah dengan adanya teknologi. Tidak seperti dulu lagi. Ini yang pertama. Iya, silakan.
Nggak apa, aku mau nyaut aja, jadi kayak lebih digital aja ya. Jadi sekarang semua orang bisa mendapat akses dengan akses internet bahkan. Silakan lanjut tuh.
Ya, jadi ini satu hal ya. Hal yang lain adalah bagaimana fasilitas pelayanan kesehatan, rumah sakit itu mempunyai barrier-barrier belajar melayani masyarakat dengan lebih baik lagi. Mungkin itu saya sebagai praktisi sangat bersyukur. Kenapa? Karena kita bisa belajar dari suatu pandemi yang begitu dahsyat.
Kebayang sih dokter kayak sebagai mahasiswa dan murid-murid yang mengalami pandemi, dari pandangan orang-orang yang mungkin sering dapat layanan kesehatan juga kelihatan banget digitalisasi dan aksesibilitas yang jauh jadi lebih baik secara online. Kita ada pertanyaan dari Dipa dari ALSA LCUI. Dipa bertanya, Untuk asuransi kesehatan di BPJS, apakah sudah mengakomodir beberapa penyakit yang susah, seperti penyakit langka ataupun penyakit yang berjalan dalam jangka lama seperti kanker?
Sebenarnya begini, BPJS itu tidak membatasi jenis penyakitnya. Hanya memang ada beberapa hal, misalnya penyakit-penyakit yang disebabkan oleh diri sendiri. Dia naik mobil, mabuk, nabrak gitu ya. Nah, itu sesuatu yang di luar. Tetapi semua penyakit itu hampir semua itu di-cover oleh BPJS. Masalahnya adalah begini, masalahnya bagi kami di fasilitas pelayanan kesehatan praktisi itu adalah jumlah klaim. Misalnya begini, loh BPJS cover kok, BPJS cover. Tetapi ketika klaimnya itu kecil, maka fasilitas pelayanan kesehatan itu akan berpikir, apakah dengan jumlah klaim asuransi sebesar ini, saya mampu mengerjakan perawatan ini. Ini sesuatu yang mendasar sebenarnya. Sehingga perhitungan-perhitungan jumlah klaim itu memang penting untuk dibicarakan antara pembiayaan dengan pelayan. Kembali kepada yang tadi saya bilang kan, pembiaya ini adalah BPJS, pelayan ini adalah fasilitas pelayanan kesehatan di bawah Kementerian Kesehatan. Kalau ini menjadi satu gedung, ini jauh lebih baik. Tapi kalau ini di luar gedung, ini menjadi intensitas konflik yang cukup sulit untuk dipecahkan. Dan hari ini masih terjadi.
Iya, koordinasi antar dua badan juga lebih sulit karena mungkin visi misinya bukan hal yang sama juga. Oke. Kita hanya punya waktu untuk satu pertanyaan lagi, jadi aku akan ambil pertanyaan Akela Nareswari dari UGM. Akela bertanya, apakah ada kebijakan legislatif terbaru yang ditujukan untuk mengatasi kesenjangan kesehatan yang menurut Dr. Hari sangat menjanjikan atau inovatif?
Saya sejak sejak Undang-Undang 17, jadi begini ya. Saya kebetulan di Majelis Kehormatan Disiplin Kedokteran Indonesia, itu satu lembaga amanat undang-undang di bawah Presiden. Tetapi beberapa hari kebelakang ini, saya diminta oleh Pak Menteri untuk menjadi ahli di dalam rancangan peraturan pemerintah dan rancangan peraturan Menteri Kesehatan sebagai amanat dari Undang-Undang 17 2023. Nah, apa yang tadi ditanyakan itu sebenarnya secara umum itu sudah ada di Undang-Undang 17 2023. Tetapi implementasinya seperti apa itu masih kita bahas di dalam RPP. Jadi RPP ini 500 lebih halaman ya, 700 lebih pasal rancangan peraturan pemerintah, dan diturunkan lagi menjadi RPMK yang sangat banyak. Nah, mungkin pertanyaan tadi bisa saya jawab setelah Desember tahun 2023. Bagaimana rancangan legislasinya? Karena setelah itu disahkan, baru itu bisa publish. Saya sendiri sebagai ahli yang ikut merancang, mungkin hanya bisa menjawab bahwa pemerintah hari ini sangat consider dengan pemerataan akses pelayanan kesehatan. Salah satu contohnya yang paling krusial itu adalah bagaimana tenaga medis, tenaga kesehatan itu bisa terpenuhi di semua lapisan masyarakat di seluruh bumi Nusantara ini. Makanya ada satu hal yang sangat kontroversial, yaitu apa? Penyediaan akses bagi dokter yang akan melanjutkan kepada spesialis itu tidak lagi kembali kepada fakultas tetapi hospital base. Itu untuk apa sih? Supaya masyarakat bisa mengakses spesialis. Karena sekarang ini dokter spesialis sedikit. Hanya contoh saja ya, tetapi nanti tunggu Desember 2024 kalau saya mohon maaf Desember 2023 kalau nanti kita ada kesempatan diskusi lagi.
Baik dokter, terima kasih banyak untuk jawabannya. Jadi kalau aku cangkup pinjangan kita hari ini dok, jadi yang aku dapat adalah hak-hak manusia itu sebenarnya dibagi kepada dua, ada yang fundamental human rights dan ada human rights yang tidak fundamental. Dan sebenarnya pemerintah tuh wajib mengcover fundamental human rights, di mana dibagi sebagaikan pie, di mana semua orang harus mendapatkan akses atau slice yang sesuai kebutuhan mereka. Nah, terima kasih banyak dokter udah menjawab pertanyaan yang sangat amat menarik. Aku sebenarnya pengen berbincang lebih lanjut, tapi karena keterbatasan waktu, kita harus mengakhiri talk show session dan dokter hari ini. Terima kasih banyak dokter Hari sudah hadir. Mewakili seluruh panitia, kita berterima kasih kepada dokter Hari karena sudah berkenan untuk menjadi narasumber hari ini. Sekarang aku persilakan kepada Kak Jeremy untuk menyerahkan sertifikat dan placard kepada dokter Hari. Untuk itu, saya persilakan PDD untuk mengabdikan momen kita di hari ini. Terima kasih banyak, Dokter Hari. Kepada Kak Jeremy, aku persilakan untuk mempresentasikan sertifikatnya.
Baik, terima kasih atas waktunya, Naja, kepada Dokter Hari. Oke, kepada Dokter Hari, mohon maaf ada kendala sinyal tadi dari saya sendiri. Dok, terima kasih banyak dok sudah berbagi materi-materi yang menarik.
Dede izin satu tiga.
Waktunya banyak dokter. Ya, itu sesi kita bersama dokter. Tadi sangat amat menarik. Aku yakin aku akan this. So after that very insightful webinar, to know more regards to of a doctor himself, Panjaitan. Dr. Andre, are you here with us today? Dr. Andre? I'm so sorry. I think there's a... Sorry for the technical issues. So much. Now we are getting to the second part of our webinar. Dr. Andre Manongan Panjaitan, are you here with us today? So before Dr. Andre is here, I'll brief you guys a bit about him. So Dr. Andre is a general practitioner who has experience in many hospitals. He's the founder and CEO of Youth as the Cadre, also known as YATC Indonesia, an organization that encourages the youth of Indonesia to give back to their communities in varying ways, pushing agendas regarding education, healthcare, environmental, and other welfare equity in rural areas of Indonesia. This is a very, very interesting topic to me, and I'm sure it is to you guys as well. And I can't wait to get started on our discussion with Dr. Andre. And he should be here soon. So we will start the discussion as soon as possible. So they are a platform in which Indonesia, ranging from teenagers to 35-year-olds, I believe, are able to participate in a series of activities in which they're able to discuss and directly interact with communities in rural areas all over Indonesia, finding places varying all the way from Sabang until Merauke. This is a very interesting program, and I'm actually quite interested to join one myself. So I can't wait to hear more from Dr. Andre about his time in Youth as the Cadre. And I hope to hear for more active participation again. Thank you so much for the questions we've had in the previous round. I can't wait to hear your questions for Dr. Andre. With Dr. Hari earlier, we had a very legal perspective in which he was the one behind the scenes of what's written in these legal provisions, as we heard from himself that he's working on the new provisions that are going to be released sooner or later. But with Dr. Andre, I think we'll have a more applicative approach, which is a very interesting perspective because he practices not only in hospitals, public hospitals, also has direct interaction with people in rural areas of Indonesia. So we'll have definitely a very different perspective here. It might be a perspective which is a more socially, like in the perspective of the people, in comparison to Dr. Hari, who had the perspective of the people behind the scenes. So while waiting for Dr. Hari, maybe we can start by a bit of maybe you guys can feel free to ask some questions now in the chat that I can maybe bring up to Dr. Andre later on. But in the meantime, I'll talk a bit about Dr. Andre himself and his career. So his CV is presented on the screen right now. He has started his education in Universitas Lampung, in which he got his bachelor's degree, and he soon after got licenses and certifications in other areas of the medical scene. And Dr. Andre here actually has a more medical background, and the legal background that he has is more to the side in which he's the ones experiencing what legal provisions have already been made. And with the written provisions, Dr. Andre is the one who faces directly actually and fully feels the impacts of what the government makes. So I can't wait to get his 2 cents or more on ongoing medical issues in Indonesia, and specifically how we can kind of make sure that everyone will access to healthcare. And I'm sure he has very interesting thoughts on this, as he's seen not only in big cities, like as we see his practice in Lampung, and also his practice in Jakarta Selatan, and he's also practiced in various areas like NTB and more rural areas with his programs through YATC Indonesia. Let me ask some of you guys first who are here with us today. Are some of you guys interested in volunteering, like Youth as the Cadre, in which you guys go to, like, for us UGM, we have this thing called KKN, in which we kind of participate in a month-long activity to kind of give social welfare to the people around us. But are any of you participants interested in joining something like that, maybe? Because I am, for sure. I definitely think it would be a very interesting experience in which I get to learn a lot, not only about the community to give back to the social welfare of them, but also give back to kind of understanding more about me. We have Akila here who said she's so interested. Raka as well. I'm glad to hear that there are interests to kind of give back to the community and give the people kind of a lot on kind of social welfare, in which we're able to kind of give back to the community and learn more about ourselves. I'm really happy to hear that we have a lot of people that are interested in kind of giving back to the community. Hila is actually asking me a personal question. I can answer this though. Lila asks me about my experience volunteering. To be honest, I don't have much experience volunteering, but during my time as a high school student, I did have a mandatory service learning program yearly in which me and a few teammates were actually sent to rural areas around Indonesia to kind of give back in our own ways. And I think how me and my teams have all, where we always kind of gave back to educating them in some sort of way. And I'm sure that'll be translated to our session with Dr. Hari today. We actually have the thing is called service learning, in which we kind of discuss a lot of ongoing issues. And sometimes it did revolve around healthcare. So I'm definitely excited to bring a lot of that energy and a lot of that knowledge here to my discussion with Dr. Andre. I see that Dr. Andre has joined us today. Dr. Andre, am I audible and clear?
Yes. Hello, Natsua. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Andre. I'm great. How are you?
I'm very great. And of course, nice to meet you all. It's such a great honor for me.
It's a great honor for us to have you here too. We were just talking about how interested we were in youth as the cadre and volunteering programs as a whole. And I think that's a very important, and it's very relevant to the topics that we will be discussing today regarding health equity. And I can't wait to get your thoughts on it. So maybe we should just start with our first question, if that's okay with you, Doc.
Okay.
Okay. So my first question is, maybe can you elaborate on some community-based approaches that have been effective in addressing health disparities? Dr. Andre, I think you're still muted.
Oh, sorry. Maybe before we talk about social community or community development, we have to know about health equity itself. When we have to understand that health equality shows that ideally everyone should have the same opportunity to achieve full health, and no one should be disadvantaged from the process of achieving health. We know that equality is one of the main goals of the 2013 of Sustainable Development Goals, when we call it SDGs, and especially point 3 and 10. And now Indonesia is one of the countries that is strengthening its health system to reduce inequality. Since we know that all of us, maybe we have health coverage, or we can call it in bahasa BPJS or Badan Pelayanan Jasa Kesehatan. And it's very important for us, especially for others who needs the coverage of health itself. Well, talk about social community. It's a social movement that especially I made or I built since 2019, when I, with my friends, had same values, had same opportunities, and had same maybe dreams to do something for Indonesia. Because why I say like that? Because Indonesia is still facing SDGs, and our rules, our constitutions, our human right shows that Indonesia should give the best, especially health for others or for the society. But the fact, when we face the communities, when we face the society, there's so much problem that you, and a lot of us here's aware that it's not about our government or our constitutions, but it's about us. When we have to know what's the problem in our society, and we have to do great or small things. That's why I built YATZ, or I call it YATC Indonesia, to give a space for young generations to elaborate the problem, to elaborate the skills, to explore your ability, and to make a social movement. That's all about the first questions.
That's super duper cool. Maybe you could elaborate a bit more on YATC and the programs that they offer, Doctor. Like, is it accessible to all students? Like, is it accessible to a certain age range, or what's that like?
Yes, it's very, very match, or it's very accepted for everyone, especially for ALSA itself or for young generations, because in our social community we have four part educations, health, environment, and creative economy. When we talk about our status, when we come from low background, we can build regulations for product, or when we call it um, when we can, I think, when we can work together with the regions, or when we work about to our maybe our, yes, our stakeholders in there. So that's why we can help others to build or to achieve their economy through the product itself. And beside that, we can give the free medical services that can be affected, or that can be feel for them for free. And we know about the health status of the society itself. I think everyone can join it, and everyone can give the impact through all the background that they have.
That's super duper cool. I think you mentioned a bit about how you study the people not only by giving them healthcare services, but also understanding their medical conditions. Um, I think that would encompass a lot of education, a lot of awareness on what's going on. Could you elaborate a bit on the importance of awareness and education, specifically in healthcare access, maybe specific to Indonesia?
Okay, thank you. Healthcare access and education is but a great things that we have to know, because with a great educations we can give a space and access for everyone to access their health. Talk about educations, it's very a weapon for us to accelerate people to get their health itself. For example, I met all the people in society, and they think that, wow, education is very great, because before that they never felt, or they never feel how it's educations. That's why with my platform I saw all the people who have a great background to give them about a great educations. For example, in the earlier of 2023, we came to Tanah Toraja, maybe with some of you join my community, and then we teach them, because they have illiteracy. They cannot read, they cannot write, and when we come together, when we teach her, or when we teach them, they feel like, oh my God, it's very nice. Thank you for coming to us. It's very a blessing for us. That's the response that they have.
I can imagine, because literacy is such an important thing. So everyone's aware not only of the healthcare access or services that they can get, but also their rights. So I had a really interesting discussion earlier with Dr. Hari regarding healthcare rights, which I would like to ask if you have the same perspective. Dr. Hari essentially mentioned that rights are divided into two: fundamental human rights, which is the right to life and the right to not having that right kind of taken from you, but also there are not fundamental human rights, which includes the other human rights that are not encompassed, like access to food and everything. He believed that what must be provided by the government is limited to fundamental human rights, and that human rights that are not part of the fundamental human rights, which is the right to life, are up to the responsibility of the communities or the people around to fulfill. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think human rights should be classified into two, fundamental and non-fundamental human rights? And who should be providing us with these rights, and who should grant us these rights?
Maybe I agree with Dr. Hari, because the government made constitutions, make law number of 36 of 2029 about concerning health, and of course our international law such as World Health Organizations is just only give us a fundamental, but cannot be interrupt us to take our non-fundamental. That's why they made a regulations, but at the end of the day, it's depend on the society itself. So I think I agree with Dr. Hari.
That's definitely very interesting because I expected that a lot of the non-fundamental rights should be provided by the government as well. But I think I've learned a lot in how fundamental rights are what should be provided by the government. And I'm sure me and also the friends who are listening to this webinar can take that. Could you elaborate maybe, Doctor, on what we as students who don't have much power in the legislation or much power in regulating or conducting medical things, what can we do to help improve health disparities in Indonesia?
Maybe we have to read the regulation first. We have to aid our literacy about law and health, because law and health is such kind of body and clothes that can be never separated each other. So if we want to learn about all the regulations, medical health and everything, we have to learn, and we have to give our brain to take to read some of our regulation, because right now or nowadays our young generations has a lack of literacy, or maybe you can call it illiteracy. That's why reading books, it's very important for us to gain more knowledge and they gain more information, so that we can know all the things, all the regulations, all the non-fundamental or fundamental. Because when we don't know about that, we cannot speak, we cannot talk to others. So maybe we become less than others.
Okay, so I think what I can take from this, and what I think everyone here can take, is that we should all educate and literate ourselves on what access to healthcare rights we have and what healthcare rights in general are written for us in regulations. So I think that includes a lot of discussions, not only in a formal level, but on a social level. Maybe could you help by elaborating on how we as students can start maybe discussions regarding healthcare on a maybe societal level, in which we can just discuss with our community? What important points should we bring up to people around us to help educate them on their healthcare rights?
Thank you for the questions. Maybe I just suggest you that we are the young generations. We are the golden period or golden generations of Indonesia in 2045. So it's time from us to take a movement, to give a space, to take a part of our society with our ability. When we have to focus our low and health educations, we can learn and we can share together, because we cannot be the part. We cannot. Oh, we can't just rely. We can't just rely on the government. We need a movement, and it's all start from us, for young people. You can join social community. You can join ALSA competitions, so that you can gain more experience. You can build yourself, and you can change your future, maybe, because you can meet all the new relationships, or you can meet all the people, or the great or the inspirational people. So I think it's start from us. So it's the time to take it.
That's super interesting. So to everybody, please do educate yourselves and those around you slowly to what healthcare access you should have and what healthcare rights you should have. And as the era in which we are, the golden era, where we have access to immense resources, please do use that for the better and educate yourselves on what rights you have. Now, let me move on to my next question. Could you maybe share any firsthand accounts or case studies where legal actions significantly improved health equity?
Okay. The case that I find out in my daily life about regulations and how it can improve the health itself. It starts when we learn about national coverage of health, or we can call it BPJS. It was made with law number 36 of 29 concerning about health, when we as a human should have a national health coverage which called BPJS that will made us safe for others, because that's very fundamental, like Dr. Hari said before, because national health coverage is very important for our life, especially for others, for our people, for they who live in village, because national coverage of health can use in other services health. That's the case study that we can face, because um it made from Indonesia for everyone to get more a greater or a better health itself.
That's really, really interesting. I think BPJS is a very interesting thing that we have in Indonesia. It's like an insurance for all people to make sure they get access to healthcare. But I was wondering, is the application of BPJS effective? And maybe could you share a bit about your experiences with YATC Indonesia? Have you faced people who were unaware of their rights with BPJS and others?
Okay. Talk about national health coverage. Maybe as I read some journal talk about an evaluations of systemic equity in Indonesia study protocol. I take some information from Virginia Weissman. She said that she said that Indonesia is a very great country who has who has increasing about health, especially using a national health coverage. But besides that, like many other countries in the regions, Indonesia has a thriving private sector with 2/3 of health financing, and more than half of all of health services in private hands. For the poor, this translates into a high out-of-pocket payment, and in turn limits access to healthcare and puts many into poverty. Maybe some of us using another insurance, but some of us using a BPJS, but it will maybe when we don't have an insurance, it will push us into a low economy or into a poverty in the futures, because we don't have a national coverage. Talking about YATC is a platform for everyone. We in our health sectors, in our health side, we screening all the people around our village. For the first, the question is, do you have a national insurance? That's the most and the important thing that our screening do, because if they do not have national coverage, how we as young generations should talk to maybe the head of the village, the regions, or the maybe to the stakeholder, to give them a space to register them into to get a free national health coverage, because in Indonesia we have a two different nation we have a two type of national health coverage. First is a private, or maybe I call it mandiri, and the second is a free for everyone who to take their health with national health coverage. That's all.
That's definitely very interesting. And so to everyone who is interested in kind of participating and partaking or doing your role in the healthcare scene of Indonesia, or even just pushing for the welfare equity of all access and all rural areas in Indonesia, please do educate yourself a bit on YATC and what they can do and what they can offer. So that's actually all of my written questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Andre, for your time. I'll now open the floor for question and answer from the participants themselves. You can ask all the way from healthcare services in Indonesia to YATC as a volunteering program. And yeah, so I will be asking Dr. Andre questions. Don't forget to list your name and institution so that we can clarify a bit on who you are and address you directly. So we have a few questions already. We have Juliana from SMA and Satu Sukarejo. Juliana asks, how can we ensure the safety and quality of healthcare in rural hospitals and clinics, given their often limited resources and workforce shortages? How can we address barriers to literacy in rural areas and promote not only health literacy, but overall educational attainment for children in these regions? Dr. Andre, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for the great questions. I think the first thing that we can ensure the safety and the quality of healthcare in a rural hospital with national accreditations, because clinic or healthcare should have a great accreditations that our Minister of Health give a space for them. That's the most and the important thing, that how to evaluate our quality and safety healthcare in rural hospital, given the actual limits. But the fact like this, when I came with everyone to the village, the rural area, we always see that there is lack of medicines, there is lack of equipment, there is lack of doctor itself.
Yeah.
Why it can be happen in our Indonesia? Especially, I cannot answer it because there is so much problematic and complex happen in our beloved Indonesia. That's why I just say and I just do that. Please, our government should give medicines, give the great equipment, give the doctors for this village, because they need. Yes. Beside that, there is some of external factor that we have to face and we have to know, from ethnic, from cultures, that there is no one people, or maybe some people can accept them, but some people cannot accept all the ethnics and all the cultures. When we talk about that, the example, when I have a friends in East Nusa Tenggara, she said like this: I don't have a water to take a bath, so I don't know how can I take a bath. That's the kind of things that maybe for everyone can accept, but some people can accept. So I think that's the external factor that we have to understand before we have to evaluate and make sure the safety and the quality of healthcare itself. And how can we address barriers of literacy in rural areas and promote not only health literacy but overall educations? First, we have to put ourselves into the village. Maybe I think that we have to come to the village and we have to give the great educations. Maybe some of you know about Indonesia Mengajar. You can join, you can follow the program, because it takes 1 year to you to educate all the people. And I believe when we have a part and we take a space in the village, we can see the change into 5 years later. Thank you.
So to everybody, please do participate and involve yourself not only in healthcare access, but also in education access programs to ensure that everybody is given the access to their rights and their healthcare needs. So we'll move on to our next question. We have Deepa from ALSA LCUE. Deepa asks a controversial question. Regarding smoking habits that could lead to addiction, can we put smokers at fault even though they suffer from addiction, specifically in context of BPJS coverage? So, Dr. Andre, the floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you for the questions. Maybe if we talk about smoking and BPJS or national health coverage, maybe sorry.
You're audible, Doctor.
I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry for the technique.
No worries, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. We cannot judge them. We cannot evaluate them that that's your problem, that's your fault, so you can take care of yourself. No, I think we as a younger generations, the first thing that we can do is educate them, accompany them, and giving them example to take a better habit, a clear habit, a health habit, so they can see you as the example for them. But how can, if they have more experience about smoking, or like you said that
p.m. And so to all of the participants and delegates who live in Jogja and would like to attend offline, be sure to attend because the closing ceremony will take place at Balak Kosa Bistro Coffee and Space.
Wow, thank you so much, A, for reminding everybody
Sure,
to attend this Sunday's closing ceremony. Now, last but not least, before we close the event, we would like to express our deepest gratitude once again to our beloved sponsors, ABNR Counselors of Law, and of course, our anonymous donors for supporting this event and for making this event possible. So to our participants,
Good luck, stay safe.
wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Shalom,
Om Santi 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 Om.
Namo Buddhaya,
And see you at our closing ceremony. Do what you trust, compete in the crush.
impact profound, together abound. ALSA, always be one.